Just baseball show for Friday the 13th. It just
Mm,
clicked for me that it is Friday, December 13th, and we have you go high, I go low.
perfect.
Mm,
Three,
okay.
2, 1.
Mailbag.
Mailbag.
Good. That wasn't great, but you know what? It's okay. We got to shake off the rust.
What do you
It's
mean? What do you mean it wasn't great? You mean you weren't great? I hit that falsetto. I think that's the name of the top note.
I thought you were really bad, but that might have just been Zoom. I'm sorry. We do have a mailbag episode for you today. It is an off-season winter meetings free agency based mailbag. We got 9 of your best questions from X and Instagram. We're going to answer those. Of course, it's brought to you by BetMGM. This is the Just Baseball Show. I'm Jack. He's Peter. How you doing? Thank you for making your bet. It looks really nice.
Doesn't it look really nice? I'm pretty proud of it. But also, I would appreciate if everybody, before we even start, could rate and review Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's the best way to support this show in the off season while hitting that big red subscribe button on YouTube, liking the video, and filling the comments up with all of your takes about our takes that we're about to give you. But to answer your question, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm very, very excited about the mailbag. I was on TikTok live yesterday breaking down all of the rumors, and I told everyone from there, go ask your questions on Instagram and on our Twitter, and we got an absolute ton of them. So wanted to say really appreciate you all for coming over, asking these questions. It's about to be a banger. We haven't done a mailbag all season long, so yeah, to answer your question again about my mood, I'm feeling great.
All off season long. We did one, I want to say in like September, but this is the
Yes.
first one of the off season. We're going to do a couple more throughout the course of the off season leading into spring training, and it's going to be around, some marquee times on the Just Baseball off season calendar. But this is essentially the winter meetings mailbag that we have. Again, 9 questions. The one big transaction that we have yet to talk about on the show in its own right is essentially the crux of question one. You want to lead us through?
Let's do it. So, question number one. Did the Boston Red Sox give up too much for Garrett Crochet? This was asked by at JM Hall 13 on Instagram. Just to recap the trade, Garrett Crochet is heading over to the Boston Red Sox, left-handed pitcher, 25 years old, coming off an elite season, and he got an elite package for him. The White Sox did. Catcher Kyle Teal, outfielder Braden Montgomery, two prospects in Arm's top 100, which you can find on justbaseball.com. They also got Chase Mydroff, who's an infielder, and Wilkeman Gonzalez, right-handed pitcher. It's definitely a big-time trade. I'll hand it over to you first. Go ahead.
No, they didn't give up too much for Garrett Crochet. Frankly, I thought the White Sox left some meat on the bone, to be
Mm.
honest with you. I thought that they could get one of the big, I want to say like two. I think of the four, of the big four in Boston's system, which is Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, Marcelo Meyer, and Kyle Teal, the White Sox, I think there are organizations that would have had Meyer as the runt of that litter, to be totally honest with you. I think the White Sox should have had Teal as the runt of that litter because they already have Edgar Caro. Kyle Teal played 28 games in Worcester. Edgar Caro played 26 games in Charlotte. So you could make the argument that after this trade, the two best position playing prospects in the White Sox system are catchers with identical ETAs to the big leagues.
Hmm.
What does that do for you? Like, it's going to look like Cabo with the time sharing. I mean, absolutely nuts that they ID'd that. I heard Chris Getz talk about the deal and say, catching is such a valuable thing in today's game. I'm with you. You have a possible franchise cornerstone, relatively speaking, it's the White Sox. You have, a future possible face of the franchise in Edgar Caro here, or at least you have your catcher of the future here in Edgar Caro. So why do you grab a guy with an identical ETA? I thought the top end talent in this deal it wasn't as sharp as I was expecting for a Garrett Crochet. I know it's only 2 years of team control, but at the end of the day, man, Crochet's estimated to make about $3 million this year, and you assume that escalates to $8 million in ARB3, and then he's on the open market. You are getting a frontline starter, an all-star starting pitcher for 2 years and $11 million, essentially. It should be better than Teal in quantity.
And I think another reason you're saying that because you're talking about potentially a frontline all-star starter. This guy has the stuff to potentially be the next Tarek Skubal. And what I mean by that is be a young pitcher with a lot of great stuff, puts it together for a season, and ends up winning the Cy Young. Because Garrett Crochet's numbers from last year are absurd for nerds like us, right? You look at a 3.58 ERA and you say, that's pretty damn good, but it's not Tarek Skubal at a 2.5, right?
Right.
But can he get there? Well, the underlying metrics would say he's on the
Yes.
right track, right? He led Major League Baseball in fielding independent pitching, which is a metric that looks at what a pitcher can control, right? Takes out a little bit of the defense. And we know that the White Sox were the single worst team in Major League history. So we're not putting a ton of faith in them fielding balls behind him. That's why he went 6-12. But I'm looking at 146 innings at 209 strikeouts. He was the Major League leader with at least 140 innings pitched in strikeout per nine. Underlying metrics are absurd. And I even made a joke in the group chat. The data is awesome. The eye test is almost better.
It is.
6'7", 250, long levers, 99-mile-an-hour fastball. And you go on YouTube and you watch Garrett Crochet highlights after the fact, after we already watched him during the season. Where are those strikeouts coming from? 99 middle. He's going after guys. And I heard Lance Lynn on Foul Territory talk about the person that Garrett Crochet is. He was a sponge when he was a reliever with the White Sox, asking all the pitchers, starting pitchers, about their routines, really wanting to be a starter, a student of the game, Lance Lynn said. And he is going to go after you. He wants to dominate. He wants to be the guy in the big moment with the ball in his hands. If you're trading for a 25-year-old starter, doesn't that sound like the perfect archetype? But at the same time, he's only thrown 146 innings as a starter.
I
Right? So
understand.
we don't have a
Yeah.
ton of data to go off of. So if
Yeah.
I'm a White Sox fan, and the reason I gave the Red Sox an A and the White Sox a B is he has some injury concerns, right? There's multiple things with the elbow, there's been things with the shoulder. Maybe he doesn't end up being the pitcher that we all thought he was. And in the meantime, the White Sox did get four very solid prospects and two top 100 guys. And I know Kyle Teal, Edgar Caro, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but in a vacuum, Kyle Teal's an excellent prospect. I mean, we loved him coming
Yeah,
out of
he
the
is.
draft. Number one catcher. This guy should be box office. And then Braden Montgomery has so much freaking potential. We all watched him at Texas A&M. This guy's a freak of freaks. He even came over from Stanford. The guy was on the mound throwing 97 miles an hour, and he was also hitting 30 bombs in the outfield. I mean, this is a freak athlete. So if I'm a White Sox fan, I agree with you. And you are leaving a little bit of meat on the bone. But I think it's weird because it's prospects, but I think you might have had the safer option here. Maybe Garrett Crochet does ascend to one of the best pitchers in baseball, and maybe he's just solid. But I think that we can both agree that the White Sox did pretty well here. That's why I gave them a B. The most
Yeah.
surprising thing for me, Aiden Miller was floated in these trade talks from the Phillies,
Yeah.
and the White Sox chose the Red Sox package, headlined by a catcher where they already have one. That was the most confusing part for me.
Yeah, I think the hangup was probably on the quality of second piece. And, I don't think Teal and Miller, I think they're in a similar weight class. I would side with Miller being the better prospect than Kyle Teal. But at the end of the day, you're right. Kyle Teal is a very good prospect. And
Yeah.
I know minor leaguers and prospects should be viewed as essentially assets until they get to the big league level. So you're not worried about having two catchers that are really good here. And, obviously I make that case that the White Sox two best position player prospects are catchers with identical ETAs. White Sox fans could be saying, what about Colson Montgomery? I think Teal and Carroll are probably better than Colson Montgomery at this point. So
Teal
that's
rakes.
great. And one of them can DH while the other's behind the plate. So
Yeah.
you're fine. Like it's pretty easy to find other space for catchers, especially with an offense as poor as the Chicago White Sox. I think it's the caliber of second piece. The fall off in the Philly package, I didn't see the full Philly package. I know that Miller was reported,
Hmm.
but Braden Montgomery is a very good player.
Oh yeah.
I think the fact that you could get Teal and Braden Montgomery and a Maidroth who had a 437 on base percentage last year
Yeah.
and swipes bags that can play a whole bunch of different positions on the infield. And you get Wilkham and Gonzalez, and it's not a good pitching system at all in Boston right now, but Gonzalez was one of their better pitching prospects. I think the secondary, tertiary, and the fourth pieces in that package probably were much better than whatever the Phillies were offering.
I bet you're spot on there. I bet that's what Chris Getz thoughts, and that's why he pulled the
Yep.
trigger. Do
Well,
you
and
think it's
The White Sox are also in a position where they need to play the quantity game over the
yeah,
quality game.
yeah? They need
Like,
somebody to work, right? Let's get
yeah,
the best guy in here and see what
I,
happens.
I've been thinking about it. This offense might be objectively worse than the 2024 White Sox offense in
Well,
25.
I don't think so because I don't know if it's humanly possible.
Who did they add? No, but like, let's be honest. Who did they add? Where's the net positive? Mike Talkman? Is Mike Talkman a net positive? If they
Yes,
trade Luis Robert,
technically he is.
if they trade Luis Robert, Mike Talkman is the most intriguing name in that White Sox lineup. If Caro and Colson are not there,
He had a good first half of the Cubs.
dude, this team's atrocious. I understand wanting four decent prospects.
Win totals came out on BetMGM,
Yeah.
and the White Sox are at 49. We got to bet the over.
Yeah,
We
so
have
I
to.
hear you on that. All I want to say is it might be a sweat.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Is it?
Like in September, they have 30 games left, and they need to win 7 more games to get over. And we're like, do they?
Yeah.
You know, can
Yeah.
they go 7-21 here to go
And the
to
answer
hit the
might be
over?
no.
And then they go 6-22, and we lose on the hook. But it was fun.
We'll see. I listen, they're doing the rebuild as best they can,
Yeah,
and trading Crochet was important to do that, but I've never seen a rebuild fall to the depths of the
yeah,
abyss like this. I
yeah.
mean, this is crazy
We
deep.
are at we are at the bottom of the ocean. And speaking
Yeah.
about bottom, is a B fair for what the White Sox got? When I gave out the
Yeah.
grades,
Yeah,
an A for the Red
absolutely.
Sox, a B. You're not that down on it.
No,
Like you
no, I
still
think
like the
it's
package.
this is a really good package.
Yes.
Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery should
Yes.
be consensus top 100 prospects in
Yes.
baseball. I think Teal's a
Absolutely.
consensus top 50, and I think Montgomery should be a consensus top 80. Mydroth is a guy that is going to play 150 games in the big leagues this year.
Yeah.
Like, and Wilkeman, like, you have a guy who can be a good pitcher at the big league level. His pitch profiles have shown that. I will say quickly, um, one thing on the Red Sox, they're halfway there. Like once they get their second starter, they are legitimate threats in the American League East.
Yeah. I think so too. They're
Get scared.
dangerous. They're
Get
a
scared,
dangerous
Yankee
team.
man, Peter.
I ain't scared of shit. Well, yeah, I am. All right, let's move on to question number 2 before we start talking about how good the Red Sox are going to be. I'm sure they'll be great. Question number 2. Who will be the best prospect moved this offseason? And will it end up being Kyle Teal? And in parentheses, am I forgetting another trade? Asked by at Ryan05 Foster on X. No, you're not forgetting another trade. Excuse me. I think Kyle Teal is the best prospect traded at this point, but I'd be pretty disappointed if he ends up being the number one prospect traded because
Yeah.
that means that the Mariners and the Orioles or the Mariners and the Red Sox didn't end up making a deal. That means Framber Valdez or Kyle Tucker did not end up getting moved from the Astros. That means that all of these rumors about San Diego possibly parting with a Dylan Cease that never ends up matriculating into anything that ends up being a trade. So that means that the trade block is probably over, maybe outside of a Luis Robert, because I don't think Luis Robert would net the White Sox a better prospect than Kyle Teal. The only way I could see that would be a 1-for-1 swap, but I just don't see that happening. If I'm the White
Yeah.
Sox, I want quantity anyway.
Yeah.
So do you think that Kyle Teal will end up being the best prospect traded? Because really, what this question is,
Yeah.
are there bigger trades on the horizon?
Yeah. So I do think that you shouldn't be bummed if Kyle Teal is the best prospect traded and we can still get a crazy trade
True.
off season. Um, the reason I say that is a lot of these rumored guys that could be on the move for other big leaguers.
Yeah.
Luis Castillo could be going to Boston. Does that mean Wilyer Abreu or Tristan Cos? I'll take both those guys over Kyle Teal. Kyle Tucker could be going to Chicago for Isak Paredes and Seiya Suzuki. That's a sick return, but it's
Absolutely.
not prospect related. Like the
Mhm.
Cubs can pull off a Kyle Tucker deal without moving an Owen Casey or a Matt Shaw, who are two better prospects than Kyle Teal. couple prospect names that I want to throw at you. I'm not ruling out a big splash for the Dodgers, whether that's Devin Williams and another from Milwaukee or, somebody else to bolster some area of their team.
I just don't think they would get better than a Kyle Teal prospect. But I agree with you. I think that's definitely on the table. For
I think
Devin
Dal
Williams, no way.
I think well, maybe it would be Devin and another.
Ah,
I think Dalton Rushing could be on the table in that kind of conversation. So I think
definitely.
Rushing could be in the conversation. I also think the Mets should not be ignored, and it would be up to you whether you deem Jet Williams and or Brandon Sproat better prospects than Kyle Teal. Like those are the names that jump to my mind with teams that may not be done and can operate from prospect capital. I feel like a lot of the bigger deals that we're talking about, these bigger trades that we're talking about, would be expensive big leaguer for young controllable big leaguers.
So I had one idea that I think could net a better prospect than Kyle Teal. And it's a player that hasn't really been floated in these offseason talks, but another player on his team has. And so I wanted to answer a question that was asked multiple times on Twitter and on Instagram. What could be the surprise addition of the offseason that not a lot of people are talking about? Well, the Marlins just traded Jake Berger away, which made absolutely no sense to me. I understand if you're Peter Bendix somewhat saying, all right, he's really just about the power. We really want to tear this thing down. We want to build what I want to build and get rid of Jake Berger. Okay. I think it was a bad decision. He's a fan favorite. The Marlins, nobody on their roster is hitting any home runs. So
Yeah.
to part with him tells me that there might be more of a teardown here. Could Jesus Luzardo or maybe even Sandy Alcantara net the Marlins a better prospect than Kyle Teal? Because if Sandy is on the block, which I don't know if he is,
I don't think
I'm just
Sandy's on the
thinking if
block.
Luzardo has been floated,
Yeah.
could Sandy be a guy that they might be listening on?
No, I don't think they're listening on Sandy. I think the two untouchables on that team are Sandy and Yuri Perez.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, Yuri
Yuri,
1000%. But
nobody's
is
touching with a
Sandy
10-foot pole.
untouchable? Is
I
Sandy
think
untouchable?
I
I
think
don't know.
Sandy's pretty untouchable for what he does for that clubhouse, for who he is to Yuri Perez as well. I feel like everything on field and off field points to Sandy being immovable. Um,
I think you're right, but here's the thing. Jake Berger was a fan favorite too, and they just immediately
yeah,
got
but
him out
Jake
of town.
Berger's not Sandy.
I understand, but the Marlins also have way more pitching than they do offense.
Yeah, but do you trade a unanimous Cy Young Award winner
No, I
to
don't
Jason
trade Berger
Williams?
or Sandy. I don't do any
I
of these
understand.
things.
I
I'm just
understand.
talking about them.
I think clumping Berger and Sandy, and I know you're not trying to do that and you don't see
Yeah,
the direct one-to-one correlation, but
no.
I don't think like, oh, they move Berger so they'd be comfortable moving Sandy is the right avenue. I think they could very well move Jesus Luzardo because I think Berger and Luzardo are closer in terms of, oh, we loved him, fan favorite. Luzardo's from South Florida, but at the end of the day, if he gets you a return, he gets you a return.
Yes,
Sandy, it's like we can't move Sandy. Like that's our only jersey seller.
I agree,
Um,
but
I don't think they move Sandy. If they move Luzardo, I don't think it nets them a better prospect than Teal at the top end. I think it
me too.
could be the quantity over quality thing again because the Marlins are also looking for quantity. And I don't know if that guy is ahead of Teal. The other guy that is clearly being shopped for the right price, Aiden Miller, is a better prospect than Kyle Teal.
Yes.
So if Philly does get frisky and they do make a move for Kyle Tucker, more on that later in the mailbag. If they do make a move for Kyle Tucker, it has to include Aiden Miller.
Yeah, I agree. So it could be Aiden Miller from the Phillies. It could be a secret one.
Yeah.
Probably Sandy. Maybe Ellie De La Cruz. All
Yeah,
right,
maybe,
let's move on.
maybe.
All right, question number 3. Who will be considered the steal of the offseason? Maybe someone who is going to get a smaller contract than they deserve, or a free agent you guys are very high on. At Gut Takes on Twitter asks us that great question. I have one in the American League and one in the National League, and I think we're going to be aligned on the one in the American League.
Um, I have a pitcher and an infielder both in the National League.
Interesting. So none in the American League. I guess we are not aligned. So
Is
I'll
it
go.
Tyler O'Neill?
No, it's Luis Ortiz.
That's not a free agent.
Oh, I thought it was kind of, we are talking about the steal of the offseason, whether that be a trade or a
Okay,
free
that could
agent.
be. Yeah,
Yeah,
that could be. All
I
right.
have
Well,
other options too that are free agents, so I'll just
no,
throw that in there.
then I'm totally with you on Luis Ortiz. If we're
Okay,
playing this game, I'm totally with you.
Okay, so Luis Ortiz, I'm looking at a guy who I think has better strikeout stuff than he showed with Pittsburgh. This guy, when I watch him, he's too nasty to rock a 19% strikeout rate or a 14% strikeout rate from the year before. But what we did see was a 25% strikeout rate in 2022. I love getting a young arm like this, who we even heard was might have been tipping pitches, and just needs a developmental program like Cleveland to insert himself into. When he is on, I thought he was disgusting. And when he was also on the road, he rocked an ERA at 2.82 compared to an ERA at PNC near 4. There's just a couple of things here where I feel like if he goes to Cleveland, gets in their lab, he is going to rebirth himself as potentially the second best pitcher in the Cleveland Guardians rotation after Tanner Bybee. Of course, they still have Shane Bieber, but he's probably
Yeah.
not going to be back towards the middle of the year, so I'm almost not counting him. But I think it's a great buy low on a guy like that. And then they also got two other prospects in that deal. So that's why when I tweeted out the Guardians went from an A plus
Yeah.
getting off the Jimenez contract in order to get a guy who crushes righties and then flipping him for a guy who I love even more in Luis Ortiz. I think the Guardians found a really good gem. I mean, he's 25 years old.
Yeah, they found a legit starting pitcher and a guy that learned a ton from Aroldis Chapman this past year. And Ortiz, it was interesting because 2022, Luis Ortiz was a guy that, was pretty solid in Altoona. And then he got to Indianapolis, and it's like, wait, that was 102 miles an hour. And he got up at the end of the 22 season. And then in 23, I kind of saw the downside of Luis Ortiz, where starts would snowball on him and things would get away, and he lost a couple ticks on his sinker, and it just didn't look right. And then in 2024, the Pirates essentially went into that season with Ortiz as their long man in the bullpen. It was like, okay, is it Luis Ortiz or Roansy Contreras that's gonna, survive the DFA, protocol that we've got here? And Roansy ended up getting DFA'd, and Ortiz held his own in the bullpen, and then he turned into that spot starter, and then he turned into a starter. And for the second half of the season, Keller wasn't good, Jones wasn't good, and then he was hurt. It was Skeens, then it was really Luis Ortiz.
Yeah.
And I heard Noah Hiles, the Post Gazette, who also had that report that apparently Jared Jones was, quote, very available at the beginning of this week, which was crazy to read. I don't think he should be. I don't think he is,
Absolutely
frankly.
not.
And I don't know if that was any pirate source that said that, but Noah, I heard on a radio hit say he feels like Cleveland might have just added their best starting pitcher, and I'm like, no, Bybee's a lot better, but
Bobby's better.
Ortiz Ortiz is probably better than Gavin Williams in
Yeah.
2025. I think Ortiz can be the two for
Yeah.
Cleveland.
I agree. And then when they get back Bieber, then you have potentially three really good starters in Bieber, Bybee, and Ortiz, and then you can continue to go down the line. Maybe Joey Cantillo is better than we thought. Maybe Tristan McKenzie's arm does look a little bit better next year. Maybe Ben Lively continues to outperform these metrics, right? They have a lot of interesting arms back there, and I love the addition of Luis Ortiz. I'll hand it over to you for the next one, and then I got one, and then one again with you.
Yeah, so I'll just give you both of mine right now
Okay,
because
yeah, go
one's
ahead.
click. Like Clay Holmes could be a steal if he turns
Mm,
into a good starter. Like
Yeah,
3 for 38. I know it's more than $10 million a year. It's closer to $13 million a year. But at the end of the day, like if you get a good starting pitcher out of this and a guy that we think can become a good starting pitcher, it's worth it with this
yeah,
market. So
I agree.
that was a deal that jumped out to me. But I think the sicko answer from me and the true bang for your buck deal. I think Colorado might have grabbed the reclamation project of the offseason. 1 year, $3.25 million for Tyro Estrada. Estrada was playing, it's total sicko, I told you. Estrada was playing with a wrist sprain pretty much the entirety of the season, and he was trying to play through that wrist issue, and it resulted in a 64 WRC plus. But don't forget, in 2022, Tyro had a 106 WRC plus and a 2.8 F4, and in 2023, he had a 100 WRC plus. He was a league average hitter and put up a 3.5 win season in San Francisco. He is a very good defender. He's going to play second base by Adael Amador another year in Colorado. or another half season, and then he gets traded at the deadline. And I think if that guy's healthy, man, like, why can't he be a 4-win player? You sign a 4-win player for $3.25 million and a mutual option in 2026? That could be a steal. Rocktober's on.
Love the shout. Love the shout. I'm going to stay in that division. Um, the Dodgers, unfortunately, are cooking. And here's what I mean by that. I think they found their next Teoscar Hernandez in Michael Conforto. 1 year, $17 million. Remember, they signed Teoscar to a similar deal, and now Teoscar is going on the open market and potentially looking for 9 figures, right? Potentially a 4 year deal after an excellent season. And what did they identify with Teoscar Hernandez? Had to get him out of T-Mobile Park. Well, the same thing can be said about Michael Conforto. At at Oracle last year, where we know it's a tough place to hit in San Francisco, he slashed 216, 292, 341 for a 633 OPS, 3 home runs. On the road, in about 60 more at bats, 17 of his 20 home runs, slash 253, 323, 530 for an 853 OPS. This is a guy who hit well off lefties last year. This is a guy who's not that far removed from a 33 home run season back in 2019. He's even coming off 20 home runs this year, right? Even in the shortened season in 2020, put up a 927 OPS. He's 31 years old. Like, I think that he is probably going to put up close to an 800 OPS. He's probably going to hit 25 home runs for 1 year, $17 million. I think
You,
they found another Teoscar.
it's clearly their attempt to find another Teoscar. I will
I
say
think it's
that.
going
You
to
say
work.
probably hit 25 homers, probably have an 800 OPS.
Yeah,
I don't want to attach the word probably. I want to say possibly.
his batted ball
But
metrics were great last year. I mean, he really hit the ball hard. He had the highest hard hit rate of his entire career at 46%. That is in the 77th percentile of Major League Baseball. He walks a decent amount, 350 ex Woba last year.
this would be
He's
three
gonna
years
rake.
running.
Yeah,
This would
he's
be
gonna rake.
3 years running where they find a corner outfielder as a reclamation project. It was Jason Hayward in 2023. It was Teoscar Hernandez in 2024. And it would be Michael Conforto in 2025.
Yeah,
And I think they love doing it.
yeah.
Like, I think there's this weird serotonin boost that they get from finding these corner outfielders. And it's like, you know what? We found a fringe all star, and I could absolutely see Conforto being that guy.
The Dodgers are unfortunately cooking.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
maybe.
just got another one, and yeah,
Yeah.
he's gonna hit, and yeah, he's gonna be one of those guys who's hitting like seventh in the playoffs, and it's just another Tommy Edman type where he's probably gonna come up big. Yeah, this is a great fit for a guy who even played college baseball on the West Coast.
Yep.
All right, question number 4. If the Reds trade from their surplus of starting pitchers, who could they trade and potentially to what team? What could a trade look like? That was asked by at Team Captain 08 on X. Who's the pitcher you identified in this deal? And are his initials AA?
So I think Abbott is the answer most would expect
Yes.
in terms of big league starter that could be surplus. But I'm going to get edgy.
Okay.
Lodolo.
I was thinking about that too. And I was wondering who would net the Reds more because you can dream on Lodolo a little bit more. But Andrew Abbott is a year younger. Lodolo is going to be 27 while Abbott is still 25. And Abbott's been much more productive than
The
Lodolo. But you'll watch Lodolo pitch and you think to yourself, I mean, damn, there's a reason he won the top 10 picks out of the draft out of TCU. I mean, this guy's disgusting. He just hasn't been healthy and it just hasn't all clicked for him. But would a team with good pitching development see Lodolo as a better option than Andrew Abbott? Because the underlying metrics with Abbott are not ideal, right? He's not a big strikeout guy. He's
Yep.
left a lot of guys on base, and maybe that's just his MO, but it's hard to operate like that as a pitcher. So go ahead with your Lodolo take. I'm here for it.
I think they found consistency in Andrew Abbott. They found consistency and they found reliability. Where with Nick Lodolo, the ability is there, but the reliability is not. He has not been on the mound a lot at all. And when he's been on the mound, it's been incredibly hot and cold.
Yeah.
Do you have the career ERA for Lodolo in front of you?
No, but I can get it in about 12 seconds.
Get it for Lodolo. I'm going to get it for Andrew Abbott, and we're going
Okay.
to compare what they've done.
Okay.
Andrew Abbott made 21 starts in 2023, made 25 starts in 2024. Andrew Abbott, over the last 2 years, has logged 247 innings and has a career 3.78 ERA. And it's not like one was a 4.5 and the other was a 3. He had a 3.87 ERA his rookie year. He had a 3.72 ERA his sophomore year, his second year in the big leagues. Walk me through Lodolo.
So here's what you're dreaming on with Nick Lodolo. So he's 26 years old, but in 2022, he comes up as a 23, 24-year-old, forget exactly what age, doing the math quickly in my head. Puts up a 3.66 ERA in 103 innings with 131 strikeouts. That's why we all got hyped. 2023, it was a disaster. Got hurt, 7 starts, 34 innings, 6.29 ERA, but still struck out 47 guys. Then in 2024, moderately more healthy, but just not very effective. 4.76 ERA, 122 strikeouts in 115 innings. So, career ERA 4.52, 47 starts in 3 seasons.
46 starts in 2 seasons for Abbott at a 3.78. Let's
Yeah.
play the FIP game. So Abbott clears by 3/4 of a run in ERA. The FIP game, Andrew Abbott's career FIP is 4.67.
And 4.18 for Lodolo,
Okay.
3.74 xFIP as well. So yes, underlying metrics and even the eye test I think would tell us
Yes,
that
it's
Lodolo is the bigger
Lodolo with
fish.
flying colors, but I think what Cincinnati found is reliability, availability, and consistent ability with
Yeah.
Andrew Abbott when they don't have any of those things with Lodolo. I think there's a perfect fit available via the trade market. Framber Valdez would be amazing at Great American Ballpark.
Mm,
Why wouldn't Houston say yes to the TCU kid coming back? Framber Valdez for Nick Lodolo and a prospect.
mm, mm. Okay. I wasn't expecting that, so it's hard for me to even respond right now because it's kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting me fired up here.
Yep.
Getting
Three
me
years of
fired up.
control. I think the other thing that makes Abbott more valuable is he has a fourth year of control versus Lodolo has 3 years of control. It's
Yeah,
3 years of Lodolo. I don't know what the plan is with Edwin Arroyo if it's that steep. Like I think that is Houston's initial ask. You give me Lodolo and Edwin Arroyo, and I give you Framber Valdez. And with what Framber is, I think Framber is one of the best pitchers in all of baseball.
oh yeah.
For 1 year at $18 million, I think that's a fair price. I would do it if I were both Lodolo and Edwin Arroyo, who is the shortstop after Jeremy Pena, for Framber.
Oh, I mean,
You take the best sinker in base. You
I
take the
know.
best sinker ball starter in baseball, and you put him at Great American Ballpark.
See,
I'm
this is
buying you more time to formulate a single thought.
no, this is the perfect time for Reds fans to go in the YouTube comments below and just you put that trade into words. Like, what are you thinking? Because I think that the Reds absolutely need outfield help. I don't think that they can roll out an outfield with Spencer Steer, TJ Friedel, and Jake Fraley anymore. So I was looking at a team that could definitely use a dependable starter. So that's why I went with Abbott. And I'm looking at the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers, in their current rotation, 2 of the 5 spots are held by guys who threw a handful of innings last year in Tyler Mahle and Jacob DeGrom. John Gray is also there. You have Cody Bradford. And then, of course, they just re signed Nathan Eovaldi. That rotation makes me very nervous because there is no Andrew Heaney there anymore, right? To spot start. They might still have Dane Dunning. They might not want to have Dane Dunning. There is also no Martin Perez there either. So that's why I thought Andrew Abbott would be a welcomed addition to the Texas Rangers starting rotation. Walk with me here. The Rangers also have a full outfield. You have Evan Carter coming back. You have Wyatt Langford. You also have Ezekiel Duran. You have Leody Taveras. You just traded for Jake Berger, which means that Josh H. Smith could be used there out there in the outfield. Who am I forgetting here, Jack?
Adolis
Who would hit
Garcia.
a ton of home runs for a team that needs power in Great American Ballpark?
How
Adolis
ex
Garcia.
how expensive is he?
He's not that expensive. Go look at that contract. It's really not that expensive. And he is 31 years old. But if we want to compete this year, you put Adolis Garcia in the middle of that lineup. Think about Jonathan India with just 50 pounds more of muscle, and instead he's playing the outfield.
It's 2 years of team control. It's $9.2 million this year, and then his final year of arbitration in 26.
Do you think the Rangers would have to give up more for Abbott?
No, I don't think so.
What do you think about that swap?
I think it's pretty sexy.
Yeah. Another one I had the idea of on the same track, getting either I would love Matt Wallner on this team.
Yeah.
I would love Matt Wallner from the Minnesota
But
Twins. The
then you
dude
run
rakes.
into
He doesn't play that much. He's played 70 games over the last 2 seasons.
so the other thing is like they were really good. I know they were, but I mean, he's put together stretches where he looks offensively lost. So I think Cincinnati could see what happened to Will Benson in 2024 and say, "Oh God, I just can't have that happen again with Wallner." I think
Wallner hits
Wallner
the
and Will
ball way
Benson are
harder.
so similar.
Really, I think Wallner's definitely better.
Mm.
Wallner, go look at Wallner's Fangraphs page. Have you done that
Yeah,
little
I'm
dive
I'm
lately?
aware of what Wallner does.
Look at the WRC plus.
I'm also aware that Matt Wallner was carrying. Ooh, let me pluck a sample
Oh
here.
no, I got it for you.
Okay,
36% last year.
yeah, I'm really worried about that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I just watched him hit some rockets
I
last
understand.
year. I
I understand.
know.
It's
I'd rather
fascinating. I
Adolis.
watched Joey Gallo take BP
Yes.
in person when he was rehabbing, and I was like, this is crazy. Why doesn't everybody give him $50 million? And then
Greg
he
Bird.
plays 100 games.
Greg Bird took some of the best BP you've ever seen in your
Yeah.
life. When I was a 19-year-old intern watching Greg Bird, Gary Sanchez, Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge hit batting practice,
You're convinced Bird is part of Murderer's Row.
I thought that this team could potentially go 162 and 0, and that Greg Bird was just the newcomer Lou Gehrig. Didn't
Yeah.
exactly work out because batting practice is not all that. So yes, I understand where you're talking about, but Matt Wallner did it in the games, and he was still able to put up WRC plus at 150 with while striking out 36% of the time. It's a
Yep.
real bat, but I think the better fit and the better fit for the other team, right? Because it's not like the Twins really need starting pitching. They have their front four
Yeah.
with Pablo, Bailey Ober, Joe Ryan, Simeon Woods Richardson, and then they have Chris Paddock. So I thought potentially would you rather have Abbott than Paddock? But and they have Emmanuel Rodriguez coming up in that outfield. They have Walker Jenkins. So I thought potentially they'd be willing to part with one of these big ol' slugger
Totally.
outfielders, especially when they also have another version in Trevor Larnach. But I think the best way for the Reds to improve their team, because they do have the starting pitching surplus, is
Yeah.
not to just go get another starting pitcher, even though I fucking love that deal. Like that deal fires me up. But I just think for the Reds, Adolis Garcia, I mean, Framber's better than Adolis Garcia. Like,
Oh my
so
God.
yeah, he makes them
Objectively.
better because he is better. But I need to
You
improve this
add a
outfield.
one. You have two
Yeah.
number one starters in Hunter Green and Framber Valdez.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh man, that's good. Um, all right. Before we move on to the next question, I need a break. So let's take our first break.
Understood.
I'm still thinking about that Framber Valdez trade. The break did not do enough for me. But let's move on to question number 5, another absolute banger. How do you think the Orioles and the Mariners could match up in a trade? This
Yeah.
was asked by Klein Schroeder on X. Fascinating. Because, of course, the Orioles may lose out on Corbin Burns. It seems that the market is heating up, whether that be the Toronto Blue Jays or whether that be the San Francisco Giants or potentially another team getting involved. It just increasingly doesn't seem like it's going to be the Orioles. So you have to replicate that with a big time starting pitcher.
Yep.
And you have the farm system to do it. And you also have a farm system full of bats that the Mariners desperately need. So the Mariners and the Red Sox have certainly matched up in a trade like that. But the Red Sox did just trade for Crochet. So I like the Orioles fit, right? They're seeing the Yankees sign Max Fried. They're seeing the Red Sox go get Garrett Crochet. It has to be the Orioles. So I have a trade. Do you want to hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Bing Bang Boop. And I want to shout out the Marine Layer podcast. For any Mariners fans, you have to go listen to them.
Have
Lyle and
to.
TJ do such a phenomenal job, a part of the Just Baseball Network, talking Mariners baseball every single day. They get plenty of good interviews. I cooked with them on a
It can,
trade.
can I also say they're venturing into the some of the national big league stuff as well. They're doing a lot of
Absolutely.
short form national content, and it's very fun. Like
Yeah, they're killing it.
I like playing trivia with them, like
Yeah.
with those videos that they're putting out on social media. So again, follow those guys, the Marine Layer podcast, Lyle Goldstein and TJ Mathewson.
So I want you to be the Orioles
Okay.
because I already cooked with the Mariners guys. So we are willing to give you Logan Gilbert.
Oh my gosh.
Here's what we want. I want Jordan Westberg
Yeah.
and I want Heston Kjerstad.
Oh God.
They were okay with that. And I'm thinking about it.
Oh my God.
Orioles, Kobe Mayo just plays third. Bing, bang, boom. Got that figured out. You're not even using Kjerstad anyway. Like, I think he needs a spot where he's going to hit because I think he's going to hit,
Yeah.
but he has no role here. So, yes, Westberg, it's a tough loss. Westberg's a beast. Westberg's an all-star caliber third baseman. Logan Gilbert's an ace. And you have Kobe Mayo. The Mariners get their third baseman of the future. They get their right fielder or their first baseman of the future who's going to hit. Both of those guys are going to hit, I believe. For Logan Gilbert, the Mariners guys were good with it.
Oh my God.
Orioles, are you good with it?
Oh my. I mean, just because Lyle and TJ are good with it doesn't mean that like
I know.
every
That's
Mariners.
that's why I wanted you to be the Orioles.
Oh
Because I think
God.
if the crux of
Yeah.
the Mariners fan base, and even I was looking at it from their perspective, I would do it if I were them.
Yes, absolutely. I'd do it. Like from the Orioles' perspective, oh my God, where can I sign? Logan Gilbert's one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. I think they're on drugs. Like,
You
what were
don't oh,
they
so you don't think
doing?
it's enough.
No, I think Logan
Interesting.
Gilbert is amazing.
Yeah, but Logan or Jordan Westbrook is fantastic.
I know Westberg is fantastic, but
And
Logan
Kjerstad,
Gilbert,
so you think it needs more?
Logan Gilbert could win a Cy Young.
Yeah, but he also, you've seen those where the home road splits pitching in T-Mobile versus not.
Dude, I mean, Westberg is awesome.
He is awesome. More years of control than Gilbert too. And then Kjerstad, of course, tons of years.
Yeah, Logan Gilbert, he's got what, 3 years of control left, or is it 2 years of control?
Search that up for me. I
Yeah, I'm
think it's
searching right
two,
now.
but it
I
might
think
be three.
if it's three, you need to add more. It's three. He's
It
going to
is
make
three.
8.3 this year, and then he's got ARB 3 and ARB 4. He was a Super 2 guy. So contractual control takes you through 2027 for Logan Gilbert. And this is a guy that has a career 3.6 ERA, had a 3.2, and threw 209 innings this year. 209 innings at a 3.2. It oh God.
We'll give you Judd Fabian as well.
Yeah, sure. I would view him if I were in Seattle, I would view Gilbert as untouchable.
I just think they're in such an interesting position because you have Castillo, obviously, you have Kirby, you have Brian Wu
Yeah,
and
both
Bryce
of them.
Miller. Yeah, you got both of them.
They have Bryce Wu. Yep.
I think they're going to get Roki. I do. I think
Ah,
after hearing all of this stuff about potentially the big market wouldn't be the best fit, that the Mariners are pulling out all the stops, right? Each row is going to be a part of their pitch to Roki Sasaki. It's a place where it's super, super easy to pitch. He could become a dominant arm in a market that has welcomed Japanese stars and thriving Japanese stars. I love the fit there. And it's right in Jerry DePoto's wheelhouse for not that much money.
yeah.
So I think if they make the Roki Sasaki signing, one of these pitchers becomes expendable.
No doubt. I just think they've shown their hand that the pitcher that becomes expendable is Luis Castillo, not Gilbert.
I know, but I think if you are, maybe it is Luis Castillo, and maybe, but I want something bigger. And I know Orioles fans want something bigger.
I understand you want something bigger, and Gilbert is an ace. Like Gilbert is a
Yeah,
front line pitcher that you
dog.
get for an all-star third baseman, and he doesn't have prospect eligibility anymore, but like a bright young star in Heston Kjerstad. I think the price for Castillo You can do without an all-star third baseman if you want to retain Westberg. Although I'm with you, they need to find some space for
Yeah,
Cubby
where does
Mayo, and
Kobe
that
Mayo
might be at first
play?
base. Might be first base.
But they have Mountcastle and O'Hearn. They got
Yeah, but
multiple of them.
kick
And
those guys.
Kerstad.
Kick those guys to the freaking curb. Kerstad's as good as gone. Like Kerstad's a Seattle Mariner at this point. If we're doing this exercise,
I mean,
so
is it
I
Kerstad
had
and for Castillo?
I had Kerstad and Chase McDermott for Castillo. If I were Seattle, I would love to see what I can do with Chase McDermott. He is disgusting.
Do you want more pitchers in this deal?
I think
Would
so.
you rather have a hitter?
McDermott could be Matt Brash.
Huh. I mean, could it be Kerstad and Enrique Bradfield Jr.?
Yeah, sure, but you have your center fielder for the next decade and a half.
That's a good point. Julio is pretty good.
Julio's good.
Julio's pretty good. Ugh.
I would love to get my hands on Chase McDermott.
Yeah. How about this? We'll let it settle in the YouTube comments below.
That's fine. Do
Because,
you
but it can't
do
just be from one fan base. It has to be Orioles and Mariners fans working together.
do you do Kerstad and Chase McDermott for Luis Castillo, or do you do Jordan Westberg and Heston Kerstad for Logan Gilbert?
And I want both sides. If you're an Orioles fan, what would you rather do? If you're a Mariners fan, what would you rather do? Let us know in the comment section below.
Fair.
I see what you're saying, though. I mean, Logan Gilbert should be untouchable. The thing is, he's like they're not acting as if he is. And with the Roki thing, that could be their next potential ace, but they already have one in Kirby, and Bryce Miller was so good in the second
And
half. And
Brian
Brian
Wu.
Wu, whenever he's on the mound, is a dart thrower. I mean, he's throwing BBs from that low slot. He's dangerous too.
Yep.
That's why if any team could give up an ace, it's the Mariners. And if any team was desperate for bats, an all-star caliber who can slot in right now, we're not talking about prospects. We're talking about an all-star right now who's young with years of control.
Yeah.
That's when I think they could be potentially willing to give up Gilbert, but it might be more of the Castillo move. So again,
Yeah.
let us know in the comment section below. All right,
Yep.
next question. What's the best case scenario from the Cardinals' point of view for a Nolan Arenado trade? Hope for a straight salary dump, or could there be an actual interesting piece coming back in return? That was asked by D_Rawlings23 on our Instagram. And just another reminder, Nolan Arenado has a no trade clause in his contract, but he would be willing to waive it for these 6 teams. The Los Angeles Angels, he's actually from that part of California. The New York Mets, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Boston Red Sox, and the San Diego Padres. So I assume we should be operating under the assumption that if he gets traded, it's to one of those 6 teams. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's who he's
So
waving it for.
yes, yeah. Well, I was curious if that the Cardinals could be like, hey,
If
we
it's
have
like,
this
hey,
great
we have this opportunity to send you to this
send
winner
you
that
to
wasn't on
this
your list of
contender.
6. Do you waive it
Exactly.
here? And he's like, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
get
I
it.
think he would waive it for a good situation with another contender, right? I don't know, but I think they would.
Possibly.
Yes. So it's hard because Nolan Arenado, we know that the bat is trailing down a little bit, but he still plays elite defense at their base. And I was looking at his contract, Jack, for the next 3 years. He's not that expensive.
No, it's 3 for 51, right? Isn't
It's
it
not
about
that
17?
bad. So if the Cardinals are willing to eat some of that even more, could they get Miguel Bleis from the Red Sox?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think
I
that
think
would be a good one.
we should shoot higher.
Think so?
I think we should not look for a low-level prospect like that, to be honest.
Okay. I
Um,
was just thinking best available.
I understand best
Yeah.
available. My thought is the best way to do it is with Helsley.
Mm,
I think the Cardinals should be pairing these two for any possible deal.
mm.
And what I mean by that is I don't know what direction the Cardinals are going in right now, but they have Mason Wynn, they have Jordan Walker, they have Ivan Herrera. They've got enough young talent here to still be good in a division that's objectively not that good. So I understand that you're looking to restructure how your organization operates, but that doesn't mean they're going into a full-on rebuild. They still have 2 more years of Sonny Gray. They still have like the Cardinals. We do this, the on paper game every year. On paper, this lineup's supposed to be better than it actually is.
Oh yeah, the Cardinals are
So
great on paper.
yeah, they're great on paper. So I don't think they're leaning into a full rebuild right now. I
Mm,
think they're trying to decide a direction. And I think the way to do this by trimming payroll and still being pretty competitive and still putting out a, somewhat decent roster is packaging Arenado and Helsley for a young big leaguer.
yeah, I thought about it too simplistically. I like answered the question directly. What's the best
Yeah.
prospect they could potentially get? And I was like,
Yeah, maybe
what?
Miguel
Who's the
Bleis.
best
Yeah,
prospect on the teams that are on his no trade? But I
right.
think you thought about it much better. Potentially packaging Ryan Helsley. So what team would that be?
I'm gonna stand by Boston. I think Boston makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. Arenado,
Yes.
Helsley, and a low level prospect for Wilyer Abreu.
Huh. Yeah.
You get 5 years of Wilyer Abreu in St. Louis. I know St. Louis doesn't plan on not contending for a division in the next
Yes.
5 years.
I think that's the way to do it. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. But then I guess they do have a log jam though, because you still have Yoshida at DH. Of course, you still have Casas, and then I assume that's moving Devers over to first base. So that's why, like, if the Red Sox make the Arenado move, I feel like then there's another move coming for another starting pitcher using some of those pieces in some way.
Probably.
Because it's like if you're the Red Sox, do you want to add 3 years, 51 when your entire team is offensive prospects as well? Is that what you want to do? I understand getting Helsley. I think that the Red Sox should just trade for Ryan Helsley. And I know I brought up Miguel Bleis because I was thinking best prospect that you can get for Arenado. I just don't love the Boston fit. I don't love them in the Bregman sweepstakes. I
Understand.
don't.
I understand.
But it's hard to find a fit here to your credit outside of the Red Sox. I mean, you know what I've just been thinking? Hey, the Angels are going for it. Why not them? I mean, we don't agree with them going for it, but they are.
Yeah.
So why not? Right? It's not like Anthony Rendon is helping them out. I even posted a tweet that I thought was funny, and Angels fans did not like it. That I said, no wonder he's willing to move to first base. You got Anthony Rendon over there at third. They did not like that, which,
Fair.
whatever. I'm willing to create a couple of haters. It's fine.
Understood.
But all right. So if the Angels want to trade for Nolan Arenado, he is from that area and his career over there. Sure.
I hate
Like
it. I don't even want to.
Samuel
I don't want to
Alvigari and
mock one,
Nelson Rada, something.
dude. I don't want to mock one. Like
I mean,
it's not fun, man.
think about the fit here. I mean, I guess could the Phillies and the Cardinals do a Bohm Arenado swap with something? Maybe you add Helsley in there too, and maybe it's Bohm and a good prospect for Helsley and
Arenado
Arenado.
could be. I don't like.
I
I
hate
could
mocking
also
Arenado trades, don't you?
because I don't know what he's worth,
Me
man. Like,
neither. And I
like
don't
I think
like.
Nolan could be a good fit in San Diego if you want to keep getting Machado off his feet.
Yeah, but it's like, do you want to get Machado off his feet? He's elite over there.
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of his health and for the sake of his longevity.
But that just means he's not playing third base anymore because Arenado's then playing third base.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm the Padres, I got to keep Machado's glove over there. He's still elite.
Yeah.
I understand taking some time off, but that's when you sign like like they should have gotten Tyro Estrada or something from the instead of the Rockies, right? That's the fit. I don't think it's getting Arenado. But
Yeah.
you're trying, right? Because the Padres are on there, so we have to try and find something.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what it is, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah. So apologies to D_Rawlings 23. We're having a tough time here. And I think the Cardinals are having a tough time here.
Yeah, which is why it hasn't happened yet. And
Yeah.
I do think packaging him with Helsley is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
I
I
do.
think you're
And
totally
I
right.
think there are opportunities here to actually get, young, good big leaguer.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to question number 7. It's another good one. As a Giants fan, I would like to hear your opinion on how the Giants are being ran. Posey said he would like to focus on scouting, but why do we donate our draft picks for quality, for QA free agents? Excuse me.
QO. Yeah.
Yeah,
Quality.
Q. That's why I
Yeah.
was like
Qualifying
QA.
offer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
qualifying offer
He
free agents.
replied and said QO, not QA. Sorry.
Okay. We lost the Chapman and Snell picks. The West is too strong for a mid Giants team with no farm. And in parentheses, we can't even win a top 10 spot in the draft lotto. Does it really make sense to go full force and sign QO free agents instead of signing 1 year flippable players at the deadline? Posey's contract is only for 3 years, and he has given away another pick this year. This was asked by, and I apologize, I don't even want to get the pronunciation wrong. MORITSUGU.Ryan on Instagram. Again, all of these tags are in the episode description. You
I think
added
it's,
this one. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think it's a phenomenal question.
Yeah.
And I think the change from Farhan to Buster Posey was necessary. I think they needed a shakeup in terms of ideology when running a baseball team in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And hopefully that helped him push past the goal line on signing a nine-figure free agent
Yeah.
because Farhan couldn't do it the last couple of years. Now, his sights were higher than Willie Adames. They were on Judge and Correa. And now you essentially like downgrade to an $180 million free agent, Willie Adames. I think it's a good fit. Do you have to be signing QO free agents? I think so. You're the Giants. Like it's
Yeah.
not like you're the Royals here. It's not like, you're a team that, needs to maximize the value of the dollar. Like you're right next to Silicon Valley
Yeah.
and you had an even year dynasty less than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's acknowledge that. They should be operating like a heavy hitter. And I think Buster
I agree.
Posey has every inclination of operating like, or every intention of operating like a heavy hitter. So that's part one. Part two, I wouldn't worry about the 3 year deal thing for Buster because he's going to be there a hell of a lot longer than
Yeah.
3 years. I
I was
promise.
that's what I was about to add. Like the 3 year thing, I don't think doesn't matter. You
It's an
brought
initial contract. He's going to get extended. I guarantee you. Going into his final year, he's going to get an extension
and
because
he I
yeah,
think he was hired to be the big hitter. Like he was. If you want to operate,
he was hired to get shit done, man. Before this
yes,
even happened, apparently he was the one that was like, let's stop kidding. Like, let's stop fucking around and actually extend Chapman. Like,
yes,
Buster Posey was the one that pushed the Chapman deal to pen to paper. Farhan was like, well, we're there. He got him to the two. Buster was like, fuck this. I'm taking it into the end zone.
yeah. Because I just don't understand where the Giants would go from here. They were 80 and 82 last year. Is really the plan to sign 1 year guys, hope they're good, then flip them for prospects, and then what?
Right. And no, JJ Redick, when he was hosting Old Man in the Three, I didn't miss episodes of Old Man in the Three. He would bring up like, you just don't want to be the freaking Pacers. Like you
Yeah.
don't want to be stuck in the middle. And the
Yes.
Giants were the Pacers. Like they were just
Yes.
stuck in the middle. And the way to get out of it is by using what you have at your disposal. And for the Giants, like part of that answer is money.
Yeah.
Part of that answer is also allure, and you play in one of the best ballparks in Major League Baseball, and you've got, pillars that you can continue to build around. Like Logan Webb is an awesome pitcher, and guys want to be in the staff with Logan Webb.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? I think that there's a lot of intrigue with San Francisco, and I'm going to put the question back on you. Do you want Willie Adames or a pick after the end of the first round?
Willie Adames, and it's not even fucking close.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So,
it's like you're creating something here, right? You go out and get the outfielder from the KBO. You go get Matt Chapman. You go get Blake Snell, and like you see if it works. And okay, Blake Snell left. Now we go get another pitcher. Now we go get Corbin Burns. This team went 80 and 82, and most of it was bones.
yeah,
Like, let's add some meat to it. And that's what he did with Willie Adames. Let's go get Corbin Burns. Let's try and compete here with the Diamondbacks and the Padres and the Dodgers. So, sure, you could have 1 year flippable deals. Might as well trade Webb then. Let's do one or the other. Let's not be the Pacers, right?
yeah.
Because that's why almost this question I almost truthfully wanted to delete a little bit, but I'm glad that we did it because
No,
I think his other version of the plan is actually a terrible idea for the Giants.
you're right.
Is that you're going to just stay in the middle then, and that's
And
a
that
disaster.
And that right there is why I thought it was an awesome question. And
Yes. And
thank you
that's why
so
I
much
didn't
for
delete
asking.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's why
exactly.
I
Like
didn't delete it.
that right there is why I thought it was a perfect question
Great
because
question.
we wanted to articulate that the way they're trying to go about this is the right way to go about it. They're the San
Agreed.
Francisco Giants. Like I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, you should trade off, every asset with value and you should lean into development of the farm system and everything like that." Is it a
And
good
what
farm
farm
system?
system?
No, it's not a
Yeah.
good farm system.
Yeah.
So you either have to entirely overhaul the farm and
Yeah.
trade the world in hopes of getting guys that are going to pan out, or you use the checkbook to your advantage and you
Yeah.
actually push an Adamas deal across the goal line, and then you form one of the best 1-2 punches, if not the best 1-2 punch in all of Major League Baseball, in Corbin Burns and Logan Webb, and you go from there. So I thought this was an awesome question because this made me actually sit here and say, you know what? The Giants are going in the right direction now.
I agree. And I'm glad that we included it. All right, let's get to question number 8. A great one. And it's not really about trades. The Tigers, Royals, and Mets were the pleasant surprises of last season. Who is your prediction for the surprise team for this upcoming 2025 MLB season? This was asked by @Trebs44 on Instagram. I got 3 names because he gave 3 names. So I'm giving 3 names. You want me to start?
Yeah, how did you think about this question?
So I just thought of teams who I think are going to outdo expectations.
Okay, so
So
me
that doesn't
too.
necessarily mean that they are bad. And now I think they're going to be pretty good. I have one team who was a playoff team last year who I think is going to ascend to higher. I have a team that won
Okay,
71 games that I think is going to be in the 80s. I have a team that's in the high 70s that I think could win the division.
good. Okay, so I did more of the 71 games to 80.
Okay.
But I noticed that the question mentioned three playoff teams. So
Yeah.
I like that you included the teams that are leveling up.
So I'm going to start with the team that already had a great season, and I still need them to make a few more moves, but I'm growing in love with the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah.
I think that this team is going to be pretty damn legit. If they make the move for a corner outfielder with a ton of power, and they can with an Anthony Santander, a Teoscar Hernandez, or calling up the Chicago Cubs and going to get a Seiya Suzuki. So they have multiple options that they can do there. I'd like them to add one more depth starting pitcher. We talked about this on Playing GM. Go grab Spencer Turnbull, right? Low cost reliever starter. Let him go learn from Seth Lugo. He already flashed really good stuff as a starter last year for Philly. I would love them to grab him. And I also think that they have the money to go grab Tanner Scott. I think this is the team that should spend the money on an all-star level closer. So if they make those moves, and all of them are straightforward, I think that this team could not only win the division, but make major noise in the playoffs. Because of course you still have Bobby Witt Jr. If Vinny Pasquantino finally has a full healthy season of what Vinny is, and maybe Michael Garcia, the X stats kick in, and maybe they don't, but at least he's going to be still a good defender. He's a good base runner, and they just have so many options in the lineup as well. This team's good on defense. They're good on the base pass. They do the little things. They clearly have a manager who was one of the best in the American League last year. And they were even unlucky by some of the metrics I look at. The 1-run games, they were down. They were way under 500. They had a better run differential than the Tigers by about 30 runs. They were plus 97 last year, only finished with 86 games. They got more in the tank here, and there's easy moves for them to make. They might end up being my World Series pick if they do the right things that I'm thinking about. I love the Royals next year.
You didn't give me an opportunity to clown the Michael Garcia shout.
I didn't want you to. I went over it quickly on purpose.
Yeah, I understand. I think they're far from being a World Series contender, but I do see your point here. And I don't think that they're far away from being a contender to win the American League Central. I think they're a corner outfield bat away from being a team that could very well take the American League Central away from Cleveland.
Yeah.
And the idea of Tanner Scott and Lucas Urseg handling the eighth and ninth is disgusting in
With
the
Hunter
best way.
Harvey back. Remember, they traded for Hunter Harvey.
I love Hunter. You know I love Hunter
And I
Harvey.
also mentioned, how about sign Tommy Canley too?
Yeah, Mr. Changeup,
I
man.
mean, trade for Seiya Suzuki, sign Spencer Turnbull, sign Tanner Scott, sign Tommy Canley. Bang, we're one of the best teams in the American League. Get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yep, I'm with you. And with that rotation as
Yep,
well, anything
exactly.
can happen.
So who's your team?
Um, I've got two. I think the Nats are my clear answer.
I also
I
wrote down
think
the Nats. Love
I
them.
think Washington is going to be a hell of a lot better. Full year of James
Agreed.
Wood, Dylan Cruz. My take that I actually just shared on the call up as well when we did our Rule 5 recap. I like the Rule 5 pick a lot and Evan Reifert. I think they're going to be the team that signs Christian Walker.
Mm.
I do think that they're going to sign a vet. And
They might get Gleyber
Alonso,
Torres.
I know. I mean, dude, I kind of like Luis Garcia, man. Like,
Me
I
too.
would, I would argue that Luis Garcia could be as good an option as Gleyber Torres at second base.
Agreed.
But
I agreed. But they wanted
I,
to play third, which is funny because Gleyber Torres said, "No way, I'm not moving over from second base in the middle of a playoff race." Pissed off Yankee fans, and now we're hearing he might play third for the Nationals.
why
Great. I
not?
mean, see you later, Gleyber. I love Gleyber. It's like, damn it. All right, whatever.
Yeah. I do think they're going to sign a veteran first baseman. They could fork up big money, and I think that could be 130, 140 for Pete Alonso, or it could be 80 for Christian Walker.
One thing about Walker, do they want to give up a draft pick? Is that where the Nationals are at, signing guys where they have to surrender a draft pick?
I think they're to that point. I
Hmm.
think they've gotten there, and they're also not that good at identification. Like Mike Rizzo is
Well,
not a good drafter.
yeah, they get lucky when they're picking like one or two in the draft, and
Who
they
have they gotten
get
lucky
Dylan
with?
Cruz. Well, no, yeah,
Cruz was the easiest pick ever.
easiest pick ever.
Harper and Strasburg were
Yeah, easy.
literally the two easiest picks ever. Next year,
Uh,
Ethan Holiday could very well be the easiest pick ever.
Cade Cavalli might be something.
No, it might be. Rizzo's not a good
And
drafter.
all their young guys, the part of their core, they were all in the Soto deal. Wood,
Yeah,
Gore, um,
Abrams,
Abrams. Holy shit, what a
Susana,
haul!
they can't
Holy shit,
draft.
what a
Like
haul!
let me tell you, I don't think it matters if they sign an Alonso or a Walker because they wouldn't draft anybody good anyways. So
I
sign a
absolutely
vet.
love that spin zone. I love that spin zone. Why? Who cares about your draft picks? You can't hit on them
You're
anyway.
bad at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like let's not do this. So that's my take on the Nats. I will say I do think that let's call it Christian Walker. Okay. You have that veteran presence. Full year of James Wood, Dylan Cruz. Jose Tena, Jacob Young, Luis Garcia all fall into this clump for me where it's like, I like you a lot. You're young, you're frisky, you are good complementary pieces on a baseball team.
Mm.
I've been high on Tana for a while now, but Jacob Young, like he's a threat to steal 40 bags.
Yes, he
Luis
is.
Garcia was like 15 homers and 25 bags last year.
Real
I
player.
think Gore takes the leap to be a frontline starter this year. I'm banking
Has
on it.
to.
He's too
Has to.
good to not.
Has to.
Um, and then you also like you have newfound riches in Mitchell Parker and DJ Hers and Irvin. They're a couple bullpen arms away from being legitimately pesky.
I agree. The Nationals I wrote down don't really have much to add. Um, I've just
One
and
more.
my
Yeah.
next team. I've given the Reds pitch 30
Yeah.
times.
I get it.
So yeah, I'm way in on the Reds, going way over their win total. Love them this year.
Yeah.
Got to make a couple of moves. Maybe go get Adolis Garcia for Andrew Abbott.
Sure. Yeah.
But right now, I think the
Sign
Reds are
Jock
definitely a
Peterson.
top, and you'll hear much more about them this offseason from me.
Yeah. One more team quick for me, Sacktown. Like I do think
Mm.
the A's have offensive intrigue essentially 1 through 9.
Yeah,
Like that lineup is pretty fun on
yeah, it is
paper at
fun.
this point. Sevy is the front man. They have one of the best closers in all of baseball in Mason Miller. They sign one more starter. All of a sudden, you're cooking with Pesky, a lot like Washington.
Cooking with Pesky. I love it. I agree. So my teams were the Reds, Nationals, and Royals, and you have Sacktown A's, Nationals, and
That's it.
that's
I
it.
only picked two.
Okay. And our last question, and it's a banger, and it's the rumor that everybody's talking about, Kyle Tucker. If Dave Dombrowski were to push the chips forward to try and bring Kyle Tucker to Philly, what would the package look like that would send him from Houston to Philly? Asked by Gabe Garner 15 on Instagram. So I made a package that looks a lot like the Cubs package, where it was two legit big leaguers and a prospect. And the Astros were asking for Matt Shaw on top of Seiya Suzuki and Isak Paredes. And I thought, crack must be great over there in Houston. No
That's a
way.
lot.
Yeah,
That's a
no
lot.
way.
That's my
I
thing.
love Tucker. No
I
way.
thought that it was going to be Isak Paredes, Seiya, and like Kevin Alcantara. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
do it. But it was like Paredes, Seiya, and Shaw or Casey. I'm like,
Oh,
no, Shaw
no.
or Cam Smith. I'm like, get off the phone.
No,
Don't
thank
do
you.
this.
So I thought about the Phillies version. Two guys who they've been floating in deals and a pretty good prospect. He's not Matt Shaw, but he's pretty good. Ranger Suarez,
Yeah.
Alec Boehm, and Justin Crawford for Kyle Tucker.
Dana Brown responds and says, "I don't want Crawford. I want Aiden Miller."
No.
So
And
again,
then
this
I'm
is where
calling up
we're at. Like, it's the hang
Chris
up the phone.
Getz and I'm saying, what will you do then for Luis Robert? It's just
Yeah,
not worth it. It's not worth it to trade all of these guys to get Tucker for a year. It's just not. And you could say, well, we're going to extend him. If I'm Kyle Tucker, no matter who I'm traded to, I am entering free agency.
I'm getting to
I
free
am. I'm
agency
getting to free
with
agency.
what Soto just got.
Yes, I'm
I'm
getting to
getting
free
to
agency.
free agency.
Yeah. And because I've even thought about the Yankee fan, like, would he extend with us?
It
And
was
then we can give up to make. No, why would he? He's going to free agency.
it was funny, man. I was watching this report from John Heyman a couple hours ago, and he said, Tucker not far off from Soto in terms of WAR and all that. Soto obviously comes with cachet. I was like, that's a pretty funny way of saying it.
Can we also be real for a second? Because
Yeah.
Yankees Twitter has been going a little bit of a blaze saying, well, Kyle Tucker might even be better than Soto. No, he's not. Point blank, no,
No,
he's
he's
not.
no, he's not, but they're not on different planets. Like Soto's the better player, but
Yes, but like, let's nip that in the bud here, Yankee fans. And I know where we're coming from. We just lost Soto. We're angry. Soto's a Met. We all hate that. And yeah, Kyle Tucker is better. No, he's not. Soto is generational.
yeah,
And yes, people are pointing to the base running and the outfield defense.
sure.
Remind me how good like Joe DiMaggio's defense was. Like you don't really remember. What you do remember is that these are all-time talents offensively.
Yeah, well,
Soto
and
is an all-time talent. Tucker is
and the
very
reality
good.
is like there's a huge difference between an 870 career OPS and a 950 career OPS.
Exactly. And Tucker is very, very good. He's a good defender in right field. He's got some speed, but he hasn't shown up in the playoffs while Juan Soto becomes superhuman in the playoffs. Like we watch these at bats. So
Yeah.
there is a difference here. That's why I think when Tucker enters the open market, we're looking at probably 10 years for Hundo, not 765. I know
No,
that
no
there's a
chance.
difference in age, but still.
But
So, yeah, go ahead.
to your point, like is a team that already has him going to offer him 400 right away? Absolutely not.
Maybe they will, but if I'm
It's
Tucker, I
it's
still
not
want to
good
go to free
business.
agency. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see what lunacy is going to happen on the open market. Like there's a chance Toronto tries throwing 475 at him and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, why not?
So I'm sticking to my guns here. I just don't think Tucker's going to get traded. Like, if you're the Phillies, do you want to do this? I mean,
I
I
Yeah.
understand that you need an outfielder, but you're good with Ranger leaving, you're good with Bohm leaving, and you're good with, I think it would be Crawford or better. That's
Yeah.
why I put Crawford because that's as much as I'd be willing to give up if I'm the Phillies. And remember, it's a year for him, 1 year. And then he's going to be a free agent, and you might get him, you might not. I think it's more likely that you don't. Is that worth it? I don't know. I think that the Phillies should be going after Luis Robert, and I think that Phillies fans should put Tucker out of their heads and just be like, yeah, we were already on the phone with Getz for Crochet. We
Yeah.
clearly have that cachet there.
Yeah.
I think they get back on the phone and they end up getting Luis Robert. And he's the center fielder, right? And he's coming off a down year. And I know Phillies fans were like, do we really want another guy who's striking out that much? I think you will when he
I
has the
think you
potential to
do.
hit 40 jacks and steal
Yeah.
20 bags
And
while
play
being an elite
elite defense.
defender in
He's
center
better.
field.
Like, don't forget in 2023, he was a better player than Michael Harris. And Michael
Yes.
Harris was a very, very good player.
Yes. And you're not really losing any defense going from Rojas to Robert.
No.
Yeah.
Um, just for to drive the nail in on this one, Phillies fans, if you don't want to give up Ranger, it would be Bohm, Aiden Miller, Eduardo Tait, and more. Like you can't
Oh,
do it. You can't do it.
too much.
Uh, I do think that Tucker gets traded. I
You
think
do.
Kyle Tucker's a Cub. I
Mm.
think that the chain reaction of Tucker being in Chicago and Bellinger going to the Yankees is going to happen. And I think it's going to be Isak Paredes, Seiya Suzuki, and I think the hang up will be Cam Smith or Owen Casey. And I do think that Jed at some point says, you know what, fuck it, we got to do it.
Does that make the Cubs better?
I think so.
How?
They have an MVP candidate in right field.
I know, but
And
then they
that
also,
outfield turns into, I think, okay, say they say yes to Cam Smith. This team turns into Happ in left, PCA in center, Tucker in right, Casey DHing. Then the catching situation, whatever you want it to be, if they feel like Ballesteros can hold it down, okay. But like you have Amaya and Theis here. Bush at first, Horner at second, Dansby at short, Shaw at third. That's a very, very good team.
yeah, that is, I don't know if that, because you're relying on some guys who haven't shown anything yet, and Casey and Shaw and Pete Crow Armstrong taking that big next
Casey,
step.
Casey
It's
and
a
Shaw.
riskier team. It has more
It is.
upside.
It's a riskier team, but Casey and Shaw have proven literally everything they need to prove in the minor leagues.
And then do the Cubs with this team feel like they can really go compete?
I think so.
Okay. I guess for me, it doesn't feel like they're that much better.
You said they needed a superstar, did you not?
I know,
You were
but I
playing
didn't.
GM
I
for the
wanted
Cubs.
them to trade from their farm system, not trade Seiya Suzuki and Isak Paredes for him. You know?
Seiya's always kind of been looked at as a contract dump for
No,
the
I know,
last year.
but he's been raking. He's just not good defensively. I mean, he can still hit.
He and Yoshida are good hitters that cost too much.
Like Kyle Tucker has a 145 WRC plus since 2021. Seiya was 138 last year.
Yeah, but Kyle Tucker plays very, very good
I
defense, and he's
agree.
essentially walking.
Kyle Tucker's definitely better than
Kyle
Seiya
Tucker's an
Suzuki.
MVP candidate.
I'm
You
just
have
talking
your
about
MVP candidate.
production from last year.
I understand.
But I get why they would do that. And then, of course, you'd then send Cody Bellinger potentially to the Yankees. Personally, I don't want Cody Bellinger as a Yankee fan. Or it depends on what the Cubs would want for him. But
And that right there is why the price is not going to be that crazy for Cody Bellinger.
no, it's not going to be crazy at all. I mean, it's coming off a 2.2 F4 season. Underlying, well, we kind of called this. I mean, last year, you,
Yeah,
Arm, and I were just like, yeah, it's probably not going to work that
we
well.
we did the high school English teacher thing. He's not going to be as bad as he was, and he's not
Yeah.
going to be as good as he was recently. Like
Yeah.
he's somewhere in the middle.
So I guess I don't think Tucker's going to end up getting traded.
Yeah, and I think Tucker's going to end up getting traded.
Yeah. So we'll see. And that's the end of the mailbag. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed this episode of the Just Baseball Show. The best way, again, to support, rate and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And leaving a written review is very, very kind as well. Subscribing on YouTube, hitting the like button as well, and filling up the comment section with either hate or love for any of the takes that we gave you. Orioles, Mariners fans of all teams who heard their teams involved in trades, let us know. Are we crazy? Not enough? Let us know in the comment section below. It's also a great time to sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter is pumping, pumping, pumping. I get an email every single time a trade goes down with a full breakdown. And guess what? It's free. Sign up in the episode description. Again, really helps us and it helps you. The newsletter is awesome. It's funny, I already know about the deals and I'm still reading it because
Yeah.
from a different perspective, too. So you're getting different perspectives from different writers who cover different teams all over just baseball in order. Shout out Elijah Evans as well. Has done such a great job with this newsletter. So make sure to go sign up below and get yourself some Just Baseball merch in the meantime, which you can find in the newsletter. We got links there. We got codes. We got discount stuff. So make sure to go sign up for the newsletter. Remember, this is all free. And if you want to spend some money, go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. For Jack McMullen, I'm Peter Apple. Hopefully everybody has a great weekend. And with that, thank you, everybody.